ask you about Cam Babb being named the captain.
Yep.
For a guy who's obviously not going to be on the field, what does that say about him? What did he do to earn?
Well, so he asked why Cam Babb, how he became a captain. I think it just speaks volumes to the young man he is. I mean, his work ethic has been off the charts. He had some opportunities there in between injuries to make an impact. But at the end of the day, I think it's the body of work of affecting others, not just on the field, but off the field. You don't get elected to something like that if you don't live the right way. At least maybe in the right way, I mean, people idolize how he lives. I mean, at the end of the day, it's always a challenge to do right and choose right and be kind and be thoughtful. And I just think he embodies that, and he's obviously made a large impact on a large amount of guys.
Can you give an example of something you've done that's been above and beyond?
No, I think it's just really it's not about going above and beyond. It's just about being consistent. I think that he's a very consistent man that operates at a very high level academically, socially, spiritually, like everything. Again, to become a special person, you have to do special things. You have to just consistently do the right thing. And if we all looked at ourselves, a lot of us probably don't do that. And Cam just lives at that ultra, high consistent level of just being a great person and always finding value besides just catching a football, which is minimal. So, yeah, that's probably why he impacted and he was like the captain.
What do you see that's better about Chris Olave than this time a year ago? Where have you seen him improve this young man? The guy that could have left?
Yeah, I would say that, again, it's just body of work. It's just confirmation. I don't think he's doing anything uncommon he hasn't already done, but just like when Michael Jordan hits the shot, he just does it more often. And I think that, he can always do it in practice. I think he's done it more than ever in practice, and I can't wait to see it translate to the game. I mean, it's just, he operates at a very high level, and if you go through and try to figure out what he can't do, you don't really have a list. So he's done a great job off the field. I think everyone knew kind of what he could do on the field, but to be captain is a direct reflection of how he's carried himself off the field. And he's not a big rah-rah guy, so it just shows how I'm sure he is pulling guys aside and making an impact when guys aren't around. But that's who Chris is, always has been.
It wasn't long ago when you were a player there.
It was long ago. We gotta stop saying that.
Yeah. Nate Mims didn't like it. Has it had any impact on your group so far, from a distraction standpoint or anything else? What have you seen?
No distraction. It's been awesome, really. I mean, guys are maximizing their opportunities, and frankly, my group is so mature. Like I would check on them every now and then. They're like, "Yeah, coach, we're just listening. We're good." Like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to speak for them, but I think we just have a mindset of, there's a lot of great opportunities. We're going to take the best opportunities. It's going to be quality over quantity per se, based on the guys. And the guys, really, I think, and again, just speaking with them, it's not really a large topic in our room. They kind of get it handled themselves. They know I'm there if they ever have any questions, but it just seems maybe they're probably just living a little easier. It's not like it's a I don't know. And again, I don't really know. Again, it's not a topic that we talk about. They know I'm there for them. I've given them examples. But as far as breaking down how each guy's doing, that's really not something we talk about at this point. It's all football oriented,
Brian, having that shoulder cleaned up for Julian, what difference has that made for him to be healthy?
Yeah, it's been awesome for him. I'm happy for him. He just runs around like a freight train, and just he's been doing such a great job. I think you'd be interested to hear, what Coach Parker Fleming thinks of him in special teams, and what I think of. I mean, he's making an impact across the board. So him being able to clean that shoulder up and play basically healthy in the first time in the last 3 years, you can tell he's just gaining momentum, which has been awesome.
Did the combination of COVID and then shoulder, the limited practice he has, do you look at this as like basically another freshman year for him, or am I reaching that?
No, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I don't hold them to any. Frankly, I don't have anybody in my room I hold to a freshman standard. So, at this point, I would say it's amazing what they've missed out on. I mean, again, a normal season, have a great season. You play 14 games, 15 games, and most of these guys have only played 6 or 7, and that's a half of a freshman year. let alone lose spring ball, let alone lose camp, let alone, I mean, the amount of lack of development is off the charts. And I think we've done a great job trying to make up ground individually, but at the end of the day, I think it comes down to the individual maximizing opportunities, and him and Jackson and other guys across the team, but in our room, have done a phenomenal job of that.
He's now got experience outside and in the slot coming into the third year with maybe expecting another jump. The element is, I don't know, what kind of weapon is that when you've got a guy who has shown he can be an outside threat and inside threat?
Well, I mean, anytime you want to be a receiver, you don't want to be, pigeonholed into a certain spot. So that's just value. I could play Chris in any spot. I could play probably Jackson in any spot as well too. And that's just how they're developed. They're not developed to be like, slash players. It's just about being a great receiver and getting the best three guys in advantageous positions, because at the end of the day, if you turn around and go 12 personnel, or you're in a bigger set, those guys that are quote unquote outside guys become inside guys. And if you're pigeonholed into a certain spot, you're not really that great of a receiver. You might be a good football player, but being multiversed and being multifaceted is what we always strive to become. And Garrett embodies that.
And this might be a dumb question, but when you're in the slot, which has consistently been the leader of receptions here, what's more important? How explosive he is, or maybe how reliable he is, even if it's not a lot of yards he's not going to have?
I don't know. I mean, I would like to always think the closer you are to the ball, the more important the position is. And, so a tight end is hugely valuable from a protection standpoint and from a pass catching standpoint. Their job description's off the charts. Obviously, the center, I mean, you don't get much closer than that. I would say, but at the end, we all have our piece. And the more things you can bring to the table, and whether it be speed sweeps or running vertical, I mean, again, the more you can do, I would assume the more you got a game plan for. So there's only so many reps in a week, and there's no way you could probably get it all accomplished if you're playing probably against Ohio State in our offense with that kind of personnel.
I mean, it seemed like Marvin was kind of ready to go when we got here in the spring, and it seems like Emeka has closed that gap and kind of become ready. Have you seen that from Emeka? What did he do over the summer to make him ready?
I mean, no one shows up ready to go. I promise you that. Secondly, I would say that they've all continued to grow. We just talked about the group last year missing out on spring ball and that precious development. And again, all three of them, Jaden, Emeka, and Marvin, are glaring examples of how much time you can make up through spring and through the summer. That being said, Chris Olave came in June, and he still had an impact as a freshman as well. So not everyone's, it's not a cookie cutter process. Everyone has their own paths, but obviously time on task is always very valuable. And I would say everyone in the room has absolutely maximized that. So from a growth perspective, everyone's grown exponentially over the last probably 6 months.
How is Jackson a different receiver now than he was a year ago going into that first season?
I would just, again, it's not about anything more than body of reps and consistently seeing different looks and executing at a high level. A lot of these guys get here because they can do a lot of things in 7-on-7, but that's not fully football, right? I mean, it's all about taking meetings to the field, implementing offenses, being mistake-free, executing at a high level all the time, not just the Twitter highlights. So, there's a lot that Jackson's grown with, big time. I would say his dominant presence in the run game through spring has been really good. That's got to continue. And then, again, I think he does a really good job spatially of finding spaces and playing ball. It's just always making sure that we're doing what we're seeing. Pictures change all the time. What we see in college football is not what normal people see. We see a lot of movement, a lot of pressure. So there's a lot of football learning mentally that happens, especially, again, in those slots.
Just to clarify, when you say dominant presence in run game, are you talking about him as a blocker, or are you talking about him as a ball carrier?
Blocking.
Gotcha.
I don't know if I lost my speaker.
No,
you turned it down.
Turned it down.
Okay.
Right.
It was loud.
Right, you guys are 8 days out now. How ready, how set is this room in terms of what you put on the field if you had to pick one?
We're pretty darn close to being game ready, if you ask me. I mean, I think that, you're never, again, what's game ready? Yeah, based on game one. If we're still game one, then we are game 5. Shame on us. So, game ready in comparison to week 1, we've done a really good job. And I look for the next week, hopefully, of maximizing the rest of this game plan and then executing at a really high level at the end of the week. But I think we've done a pretty good job.
Do you have an idea at this point of how deep you can go with this group of receivers?
As far as
Just how many guys you'll be. I know you like to rotate, so how many guys you want to go through in a game?
I mean, I have an idea.
Brian, what have you seen from C.J. Stroud as the new starting quarterback? What does he do to make your receivers better?
I think with the most impressive thing with CJ, again, not being in the room and hearing all the questions and answers and all that, it's just been his calm and his poise. Like, I haven't seen any rattle from him. It's just very mature of him. I think he is able to, hit a throw, be happy about it, miss a throw, move on to the next throw, and still hold himself accountable. So, our job is to always be in the right spot at the right time and be uncovered. I would say that CJ absolutely has elevated our game, and we are a better room because of him playing at quarterback.
A couple more questions with Coach. Cam Bath to your left.
Justin, as a quarterback for the receiver on there, and your introductions on Justin to CJ in the way they
It's always different when you change a quarterback's hand, but time on task, we're pretty well adjusted.
Brent, this team appears, by anybody's analysis, appears to be loaded offensively with talent that can play. I'm sure you're aware of the talent you're doing. How does this offense go about things and not get in its own way? Do you agree about the talent level here?
Yeah, I think we've done an immaculate job of identifying the right young men for Ohio State, and I think that not are they great players, but they're even better people. And so either if you are a great player or if you're not quite yet, if you're a great person, you will be maximized and you'll maximize your potential. So that those two things I think have would definitely attest that yes, we've done a good job with that. Great players and great people.
But what I'm getting to is how do you guys, coaches, go about it so that you don't just go crazy about trying to do things and just stick to basics? What are the basics about this offense?
Yeah, we need less time because right now we've had so much time on one opponent. It's really easy to continue to find new things. But to your point, as coaches, it's always a challenge, not a hard challenge, but our challenge is to always put our players in the best positions to execute. They do a great job on developing as players, and it's our job to use their skill set and put them in proper position based on leverage or cover, whatever, to help them execute. Asking guys to do jobs that either they can't do or, are disadvantaged to do, shame on us. So, hope that answers your question.
Brian, the rotation, I know not necessarily the depth chart, but Olave, does he specialize in split in, flanker, slot? Like how do you envision, what's the best
He specializes at receiver.
Receiver, okay. Where would you see him more often?
Everywhere.
Okay. What's the best position for Fleming or Smith and Jigma?
Receiver.
They're all interchangeable.
They're receivers.
Okay. All right.
Just a real dumb question, but just watching
I love your dumb questions.
Watching Marvin Harrison Jr., for example, and Mike Luka, two guys that really jumped out to me, they just seem to be, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ahead. I don't know. I mean, you watch them every day. I'm just talking about the art of running routes and catching the ball.
They do. They are. They've done a really good job. I mean, I think the best thing they do is just taking meetings to the field and implementing things, and they have a great mental approach to it and playing the mental game. And they just, I agree with what you're saying. I think that the conversations are not day one conversations. We've moved quickly through those conversations to think about this, think about that, and I don't feel like they're overloaded. Now, that's how they live. They both have 4.0s. Well, actually, Marvin had an A-, but they're excellent, like in all facets. And Jaden Ballard as well, like mid three point student that is doing roommates. So again, I would say that Jaden's still learning more from them, but he's at a much higher level too. So it's just been a fun room, and the conversations aren't one-on-one. So
Now, as you can tell, Marvin used to have dinner a lot with a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
yeah, probably a good chance. Yep.
Brian,
I know Chris has enough speed to probably run by a lot of guys if he wanted to, but he seems very savvy and like he's kind of grown in the way he can sort of manipulate defenders and get himself open. Just, I guess, how have you seen him grow in that way, and what do you appreciate about maybe his technical side of his game?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, you get to a guy like Chris and Garrett, like these guys are operating on like a 1% basis, right? Like the improvements are minimal in the eye of others, and then but you see them every day, and you're trying to work on small little technique things, and the matter so that's where Chris and Garrett have been. They can be very productive yet still not good enough. And that's the world they have to live in and operate in, and that's the self-coaching and self-dialogue. And so between Chris's manipulation of defenders and anybody, I mean, Chris is fast, but if you open up early and you take off, it's really hard to run by somebody when they're opening up. So how do I keep them square? How do I attack leverages? How do I still transition that 4-2-5? So those are the things he has to operate with. And Garrett's so explosive, but how do I contain my explosiveness so I'm efficient? And so everyone's got their own little, bugaboos, if you will, and areas of improvement, but they're operating in a 1%, mindset of, when you're at 90% of what you're capable of, how do you just find 91 and 92? And you're starting at 60%. It's easy to get 5% a month. It's hard when you're at where they're at. So, but great growth by both of them, especially off the field. I think a lot of the growth has been off the field, which has translated to even on the field.
Two more questions, guys. I mean, clearly those are your best two receivers. Everybody kind of knows that around the country. And it seemed like logical that Garrett's going to be in the slot again this year. Chris is going to be outside. Now, obviously, I know people are interchangeable, but what did Jackson do to make you feel comfortable to take what Garrett was in the slot last year and move it outside, and so you could get Jackson on the field more?
I think it just comes down to best players can get on the field, best players play. And again, I mean, we keep focusing on the slot, and it's just someone's got to play there. So, once we get change personnel and get into different formations, and all of a sudden the outside guys, it doesn't change. So now, can some guys be a little better here or there? Sure. I mean, they're fractions of the difference, but we just try to maximize opportunity and formations. But again, I guess to answer your question on Jackson, it's just body of work. It's the consistency level.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have one more. Sorry.
Yeah,
I might word this wrong, so I apologize if I do. But I'm just wondering, with guys like Chris and Garrett, you're talking about how proficient they are. You watch them sometimes, and it seems they're really good at sort of changing their speeds within a route and using the pace kind of to their advantage. And I imagine that's important for every receiver. But just how good are those two guys at that particular part?
They better not be slowing down too much because the quarterback's gonna get killed. But there's a little something to it. I would say it's more body language than speed. But at the end of the day, we want that ball out of the quarterback's hand as fast as we can. And I think that what we're kind of getting to is when I ask them why they do something, we usually have an answer now. So, which is good, and then that just provides conversation, which is what it's all about. So if we can fix the mental narrative, then we can fix the action. So if they're doing something that's not quite right, there's probably a reason, which is good. It means they're thinking and not just doing. They're thinking about it. So if they have the wrong thought, that's on me. So I need to help get that fixed. But again, they've grown big-time cerebral players, and that makes it a lot of fun to coach.